name is Melinda Korzaan. I'm an associate professor in the Computer Information Systems Department, and I'm here this afternoon to just share with you some of the adventures I have had in Second Life with my graduate level course that I teach. Some of the activities and techniques that we use in that class to actually get students engaged and collaborating and learning the material that they need to learn for the course. The course that I teach is entitled Information Technology, Project Management, Risk Assessment, and Control. So we are interested in improving the performance of information technology projects. And I don't know how familiar you are with information technology projects, but in the business world, there is a high rate of failure, meaning that projects end up taking more time, more money, and provide fewer functions than what their specifications required for the beginning initial plan. So our goal is to improve the performance of information technology projects by looking at the risks and addressing the risks. So we really have to focus a lot in this class on tools and techniques for identifying risks in information technology projects, assessing those risks, and providing recommendations for controlling or mitigating those risks. So, when faced with Second Life, one of the biggest challenges I had was how can I not spend too much time in Second Life learning Second Life and really spend most of my time on the content. We do case studies, we do class discussions, we do a lot of group work. So how can this translate from the on-campus, face-to-face classroom to a virtual classroom? What does that look like? So that's kind of the main objective. I'll start, and here's just kind of some outlines of some of the things that we do in the course. And how I started in Second Life was actually before MTSU had the Second Life Island. And it was not my idea. It was my students' idea. We used a case of an IT project implementing a Second Life project in class. And as we went through this case, identifying the risks, one of my students said, "Hey, why don't we meet in Second Life?" Me, being the risk-averse professor that I am, said, "No way. Oh, what do you think this is? A risk class?" Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. I guess it does make sense because we can jump into this virtual world, we can assess the risks of it, we can learn as we go. This is like a real-life risk project, so why not? Let's do this. So, here we go. Well, I can make these PowerPoints available to you. So you can read through the verbiage. That's pretty much what I just summarized when I was speaking. So, we jump ahead then, when I fall 2008, I said, okay, let's go ahead and meet. Is that at this point we did not have shared media print, so we couldn't look at our Google Docs from within Second Life. We always had to flip back and forth between screens, Google Docs, Second Life. But we worked around it. We had some interesting experiences. One very positive experience, one of my students met an educator in Washington, D.C., and I'd met an educator in Arizona. And we invited both of them to come visit our class one night. So we had this kind of ad hoc learning experience from some other educators that we wouldn't have had we not been in a virtual world. Now we also had one interruption. an avatar by the name of Mr. Love Night Turbo, who showed up in his avatar underwear and claimed he did not know how to put his clothes on. And of course, since this is a risk class, I realized this was a risk right away. Me as a person was panicking while my avatar remained completely calm. And this was what was really amazing about it, is how my students stepped up to the plate. They started giving him clothes, and they started giving him links to islands so he could get freebies. And before I knew it, he left. He didn't come back. He was busy getting freebies. And I thought, wow, I need to have more confidence in my students, just to let go. And they really stepped up to the plate and provided a solution. So that was my first experience. The next year, this time, we're still meeting on Vassar Island, and I think this would be an interesting research project, is to look at group identities in virtual worlds. Notice this group. This is the red group. They all have capes. Why did they do that? They wanted to be able to easily recognize their avatars in Second Life. I thought, that's pretty brilliant. That's great. And they also took on this whole super hero persona. And here's what one of my students posted in Facebook. Here he is, Halo Vader. And the book we were reading was called Project Disentanglement, and it goes through a methodology for detecting risks and stopping them before they become catastrophes. And so he puts this quote, "I find your lack of faith in Project Disentanglement disturbing." And it's just interesting to see how now they're kind of like this superhero group of project-saving, caped avatars. But I'm thinking, why not? At first I'm like, look at these. They're kind of going back to childhood and turning this into a game. And I'm thinking, maybe this isn't a bad thing. Maybe this is really inspiring some creativity in them. And I'll be honest with you, risk assessment and control is not the most exciting thing in the real world, to go through a case and go through these step-by-step methodologies. So if they can add a little fun to it, I think it actually, and their group did an outstanding job as well. In fact, one of the members is now a chief information officer in an organization, and another student is going through a PhD program at Auburn. So I was definitely intrigued by that and wondering how we can use that to help inspire more creativity and add more life and innovativeness in the classroom. Okay. Moving forward to fall 2010, MTSU purchased our island. We have our own amphitheater to meet in. Here's our amphitheater. There are my students in 2010. There's our mascot, Pegasus, in the background. I know Pegasus isn't blue, but it was a freebie, and I couldn't color the freebie blue. Maybe next semester that will be one of our projects. So what do activities look like? That's a little bit of an overview of the journey. What do the actual activities look like? And we have four main types of activities. One is to take a little bit of time to learn Second Life. I allowed the students to take about an hour and a half on class in a computer lab to go through a tutorial, learn about Second Life. And then the second half of the class, it's a 3-hour class, so the second half of the class, we simulated what our virtual class would look like. We actually went through discussion questions, and then I could ask them, was everybody comfortable with this? Are you ready to meet now remotely? I had one group volunteer to work on a virtual IT risk project. And let me show you what that project looked like. They were given, I don't know if I can pull this up in Google Docs without the internet. Let me see if it's up here. No, I don't have it open already. But this might give you a little bit of an idea. They had a document with templates in it, and they had a case that they were supposed to work on. The templates were much more complex than this. and they would actually meet then in Second Life and work on their case project, filling in the templates, going through the case. They would identify the risks, they would prioritize the risks, do a quantitative and qualitative analysis on it. And they did it by collaborating in a Google document that had templates in it. And what worked really well with...
Did they have access to that document in Second Life?
Yes. They did have access to that document in Second Life, and I will show you how I gave them access. There's two different ways that I will give them access. One way is to, in the Google document, invite each one individually with their email accounts so that they have to log into Google Docs to have access to it. Another method that I use that is much faster but less secure is I will have a document in Google Docs and I will specify on the share options that anybody with a link can edit it. I will then take that link, put it in a Word document that I password protect, that only that group knows the password, and so only they have to have that password before they can get to the editable link, and then they use that link. Now what the students have to remember to do though is to take their share media prem with them or go back to home on the share media prem so that that link doesn't stay up there for the next person to come along and use. So they have to be responsible. And these are graduate students, so they can do that. I don't know if undergraduate students, they could probably handle it too. They just need to remember to take their media board with them or to go back to the home screen so that the next person who comes along can't just go in and change their Google document. What was nice about this was that the group would meet on Sunday evenings. And so Sunday evening while I'm sitting back, watching TV, taking it easy, eating a snack, oh, it's 8 o'clock. My group is meeting. I'm going to go check and see how they're doing. So I can go then and log in and I can talk to the students, ask if they have any questions, just touch base with them. So it gives me more opportunities to communicate with my student. It gave me more opportunities to communicate with my student. If they were meeting face to face at the library or someplace else, I'd have to get up and physically go there. Here, just log in. Guys, you have any questions? How's the project coming along? Of course, one time I jumped in and they had ESPN on the on the shared media prem. Because you guys are working hard tonight. Okay, so that's another type of activity that they did in Second Life, where they're actually given a project, given a Google document, templates, they meet, they work on it. The next one is to have a virtual team research project, and I have actually a video of this on my hard drive so I can show you what it looks like to have students do their very own research project and presentation. I use what's called a Press-O-Matic for a PowerPoint presenter, and they use Google Docs to create an outline of their research project topic and assign who's going to do what pieces. And some of them gave me, I let them do that on their own, but some of them did give me access to their Google Docs, and it was interesting to go through and see how they organized their research project and divided up the tasks among themselves. And then they have to upload the PowerPoints into Second Life, into a Press-O-Matic, and every team member has to speak in the presentation. And that's what that project looked like. Next is virtual class meetings. And within the class, the format that I usually take is to have them read either chapters in their book or other articles outside of class. And then when we meet in class, we start at the amphitheater, the whole group together, I take attendance. They all get their Google Doc link from D2L. Once I have that Word document that's password protected, I then place that in D2L. And So after initial role taking, they break out into their groups, into different areas on the island. If they want to meet on another island, that's fine. Within that document, I tell them, here, I actually think I do have one that's available where you can see, this page up. Right, so here would be an example of the questions that they would work on. And at the top, I would always remind them when we're meeting back together as a class. So watch your time. I will also include links so that they always know where we're going to meet back at, which is usually on MTSU Island. Occasionally we'll meet at another island. This is the International Schools Island. But I provide those links for them, and then this is actually a set of discussion questions that they had worked on during class. I usually give them, depending upon how many questions and how long the class is, so for a 3-hour class, and I'll give them a fair amount of discussion questions, maybe give them about 45 minutes. We meet back as a class then in the amphitheater, which in the MTSU amphitheater, we have a shared media print there. And one spokesperson from each of the groups then will take their document, if they want to place it on the media board, they can, and share with the class their answer to, let's say, one of the questions. I give each group a specific question. So one group member will come up and present one question. Class discusses it. Then they sit down, their avatars sit down, and then the next spokesperson from the other group comes up, shares answers to their question on the, in front of the class on the shared media front, and open it up for discussion. So that's how the format looks like for the virtual class meetings that we have. Sometimes I do present information to them, like in a short PowerPoint. I'll upload a PowerPoint and give a short PowerPoint. Probably wouldn't make that more than maybe 15 minutes though, because their little avatars' attention span, they really, in Second Life, they want to do stuff. So maybe a short 15-minute lecture, then they break out and answer discussion questions about the lecture material. So those are just some ideas, and that just kind of gives you an overall how I formatted it, what we actually do in class, and the activities. I'd like to show you some pictures. This is MTSU Island. So that you kind of get more of an idea of what this looks like. So at the beginning, they have a tutorial to look at and do activities. So they come to the lab. We actually meet on campus for this time. And also I will make note that the class I do is a hybrid. We do have some class meetings on campus and some in Second Life. So at this point, I don't have a pure 100% virtual class yet. In time, it may actually happen. Each year I try to challenge myself and add a little something extra. So, with Dr. Sequoia, this is very exciting because my next challenge for myself is we are working together on an international business course with another colleague, partnering with a university in Hungary. And I'm taking this down to the international level. How do we divide some groups up between some American students, some Hungarian students? Let's create some activities, projects for them to work on collaboratively. So that's the next challenge. Perhaps after that will be 100% virtual class. I don't know, just kind of taking it a step at a time. So at first though, tutorial. And I'd be glad to provide this to anybody who's interested, the tutorial that I use. And bear in mind that I teach an evening graduate course, which is primarily non-traditional students. Managers, project managers, IT professionals, and this is what they did to the island. And I'm sorry, Brenda, last time I didn't have them pick up after themselves. In the tutorial, specify you must pick up your prims when you're done, because they get very creative this is what adult project managers, IT professionals do when turned loose. I've even had some of them come up to me and say, wow, we turn back into children. You're good. You have an hour and a half to be a child and you need to get over it after that. So you better enjoy being a child. So this was on Halloween, so they put some pumpkins and stuff up. They built a forest in 2010. They put trees all over the island. And then last year they turned it into an ocean reef. And you can see there's a shark back there. You can actually ride that shark. Oh yeah, there they are. This year's the first time I actually had non-humans in my class. This is a monkey right here. It had a robot and a raccoon. And it's interesting to see how they represent themselves in Second Life. Most of them, actually, you can pick up the identifying features and kind of pick out the students. They try to make them look like themselves most of the time, except for the monkey. Well, I don't know, maybe that is. That would be another interesting research project, and need to collaborate with somebody in the psychology department on identity. Yeah. Why are you a robot in Second Life? How do you see yourself? Or maybe do a personality profile as yourself, and then have your avatar, from the avatar's perspective, do a personality profile. Okay. So that was just kind of initially, I gave them about an hour and a half. They do need to clean up after themselves, but this is their time to learn and explore, learn how to walk, learn how to fly, learn how to communicate with each other. Here is, now we're down to work. This is one of a classroom I have on MTSU Island, and this was the group that was working on their collaborative project, their case study project. And you can see from here in the classroom, I'm talking with them, and right here is the prem where they have the Google documents. So you can see that within the environment now they can work on the Google document. That's called using a shared media prem, so that they don't have to now switch to another screen to use Google Docs. They can just use it from within the Second Life environment. So this was on one of those evenings where I dropped by and said hi to them. Virtual team research project and presentation. This was the first semester I tried this. This is my office at home. I have 3 screens going on there. But one of the good things about this is that on presentation night, it was sleeting, and it was cold, and it was nasty. And so I got my nice cup of coffee right here, stayed in my house, went upstairs, had my headphones on, and my students were able to give their presentations. No walking from the parking lot, fighting for a parking space. You can see there they are giving their presentation in the background right there. And I would like to show you a little bit of a video, and I have it.
Do you have difficulty with lag? I mean, has lag time been a problem?
On with some students, yes, it has been. And again, that's been part of the risk mitigation strategies that we've come up with. Unfortunately, a few of my students have come on campus and use Second Life from campus. If they have dial-up at home or something to that extent, the slow response time has been the biggest challenge for students. So far, though, I haven't had any complaints about doing that. They've been more than willing to find or even go over to a friend's house and use their computer. I've seen them do that. The slow response time has been the #1 challenge. Yeah, slow response. And as you can tell, today, even having the internet access is the key. There are potential challenges with students having an older computer, and so their graphics card is not the most up-to-date. There is a workaround for that though, because there is something called I believe it's called the Phoenix viewer. It's called the Phoenix viewer. Send me an email, I can send you a link to that, so that students who have an older graphics card can actually get into the Second Life environment. They can't use the shared media prem, so what that means is that they have to switch back and forth between a browser and Second Life than to use the Google Docs. Again, I've had a couple of students do that. They haven't complained about it. That has not been as big of an issue as the internet connection, though. I've only had 2 students that have not had a graphics card that supported it. Most students do actually have a computer that is current enough to handle the graphics. But there is a workaround to that. So really the internet connection has been
The internet connection and the just in terms of the graphics, well, actually, that's what the Phoenix viewer will help resolve.
The Phoenix viewer, yeah, helps with that because it's a less intense graphic environment. So you're not going to have the quality. The one, for example, that I'm showing you right now on this laptop is a really good graphics card. So you see a lot more detail on it. The Phoenix viewer, the graphics aren't going to be as crisp, as clear, things like that. But it's functional. And I was really hoping the video would be on here of my students actually doing their final project. And I apologize. I think it's under maybe video. I think this is it. And this semester, I gave my students an option. I think this is it right here. I gave my students an option. I said, you know, you can either come into the amphitheater and give your presentation in the amphitheater, or if you want to create your own environment, then we'd be happy to come to your own environment that you create. And I had one group create their own environment on Second Life Island. They had a little platform, and this is what it ended up looking like.
We're the Risk Management Solution Team, and this is our presentation on virtual environments. For this project, we have looked at basic information of 4 virtual meeting spaces: Second Life, VenueGen, GoToMeeting, and Microsoft Link. All 4 of these environments have much to offer, as long as we acknowledge the potential risks that virtual teams may have. A virtual team in itself can be considered project management risk. A variety of problems can occur in these situations. For example, praise from a team leader within a virtual environment is seen by all team members, as opposed to a face-to-face, one-on-one meeting in which a team member is given praise. In my article, Strengthening Identification with the Team and Virtual Teams, the Leader's Perspective, the author states that this might be especially critical in virtual teams, where the team members cannot see each other very often because of the geographical distance, and the successes of the team may remain unnoticed. Communication barriers, proper research in choosing a virtual environment, and hardware.
So that gives you an idea to actually see what it looks like for a student team to give a presentation. Yes, they had their own little platform right here, and the audience, they had set chairs out on the platform. As you can see, it's overlooking the ocean on MTSU Island, very pleasant environment. They all their avatars dressed up in their business suits, had their bling on. They were very professional. A couple of benefits to this type of presentation, and it didn't show there on that little snippet, but you have a chat box. So if somebody has questions, they can submit questions to the little chat box, and then that can be either addressed later or even during the presentation if one of the team members feel like it would be good to interject an answer to that question during that time. Another benefit, this is probably the biggest benefit, is that in the face-to-face presentations, I always find it awkward to hold up a sign or something that says you have 5 minutes left, because I'm very particular about the time. We have so many presentations and only so much time. I can talk to each person individually without the rest of the class seeing it. So when the person speaking only has maybe 5 minutes left, I can just let them know alone that they have 5 minutes left without distracting the rest of the audience in any way. So that's a nice feature as well. And the virtual class meeting, let me just share some pictures with you of the virtual class meeting. This was before class. You see that to bring their coats with them. They like to stand outside and kind of talk a little bit before class starts. Here is before class. This is in the MTSU amphitheater. And the dragon that you see, that is Omadon Vexton. In real life, he is a project manager and was also in the military. He was a Marine. It's very interesting to see him in class face to face, very on task, very detail oriented. And then you put him in second life. He's a dragon. Yeah. But now he will come up, before class he would be a dragon, and then when he would come to class, he would go back to being like a human avatar. Interesting character. So he's just looking at the discussion questions right before class. This is before we started. Here's my class with the raccoon and the robot. That was this year. And this is in the amphitheater. I also have a little tool that can take attendance. So I drive a little tool down and it scans the area and it puts it in the message box of who all is there. So I can just real quickly take attendance and then send them on their way. So that's one of the things that we do when we first meet in the amphitheater. Group breakout sessions. One thing I like to do when they break out into their groups and they're working on their documents, I like to take that time to go around to each group individually and just communicate with them, touch base with them. Here's one group, they're working on their document, and they are in the KOM building. Afterwards, sometimes, like I said, we go back to the amphitheater and they discuss their answers to the questions. Sometimes I like to take them to other islands. This is ISTE Island, and I love this island because it's actually an island that lets you res prems on it. So I can go to this island and I can put, this is my meeting, I can give you this as well. This is like a little meeting table. It automatically adds an additional chair, so however many people are meeting, it can add or go back smaller. Yeah. And then here's the discussion board. You can see the shared media prems and all the classes sitting around discussing the round table, and there's my avatar over there. And so sometimes we just like to mix it up a little bit on what we do after the breakout sessions. And another place I like to go is the International Schools Island. International Schools Island. If you go to the top of the mountain, they have what's called a shambles pad. So for example, and where all students, they can get color coded of who they are, and then they participate by typing on a notepad. So let me give you an example. One night it was all about taking budget data, schedule data, and deciding if a project should be halted or not. So each group was individually given this data. They were broke out into their groups. They decided, they made some assumptions about what was going on with the project, and they decided whether they should halt it or not. So then we meet at International Schools Island, and in the shambles pad, it's like, okay, now tell me, what did you guys decide? So everybody participates and said, oh, we decided to halt the project. We decided to continue with the project. Well, why? And they all share their reasons on the shambles pad. So sometimes I like to mix it up a little bit after they have their breakout sessions. And ISTE Island and International Schools Island are two places that are academic focused and more safe places to be. And at the end, I'm flying our mascot back home. And I can give you a Pegasus too. We just don't have a name for him yet. I guess that's probably one of the things that we should discuss in this class. We should go to the shambles pad and write down, brainstorm ideas for the name of our Pegasus mascot. And that is it. I don't know if we have internet connection or not, but I'd just like to open it up for any questions. Is it working? Okay. Excellent. We have about 15 minutes. It's not a lot of time. I don't know how much time you want to take. Let me go ahead and get back into your
Let me ask you this. I mean, I've never done, I've told you I've never done this before.
Mhm.
So the first thing you do is, if you just want to start, you go into second line, get an avatar,
Mhm.
and then is there kind of like a tutorial that can kind of walk you through the different things you can do?
I have a tutorial I have them do, and I recommend that they go to the New Media, I believe it's the New Media Consortium Island, and do a walkthrough tutorial, and then there's also a tutorial on MTSU Island in the student union. So there's also a tutorial in the student union they can go through as well.
So you go also when I sign up, I can go into MTSU Island and then go look for that tutorial, the union build.
Yes. And if you like, send me an email and I can give you the document with the links on it.
Okay.
For where you can go to MTSU Island and a link to, for example, the classroom, and a link to some of the other places I have them go where there's some good tutorials.
If you want to switch computers to the main computer, that one has the update on it.
Does that have the update on it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me do that. I don't have, I wanted to send this link. Before I switch over to the other computer, I want to share the videos with you. If you want to look at a video, you don't really need the autoplay. But if you want to play a video from YouTube and you don't want to see like all the advertisements and the other videos around it so that it's only the video that shows up, the full screen doesn't always work that well. What I found works really well is if you create a link and put it in a Word document, you can, right after where it says watch, do an underscore pop-up, and then use that link, and it just brings up the video alone in your shared media frame.
So if you want to sign up, just regular, if you want to sign up regularly as an MTSU faculty, so is there a charge for that? Or?
No, it's free.
Oh, so it's free to get on?
You will need permission to MTSU Island. So you will want to get with Brenda Kerr to get your permission set up so that you can have instructor privileges on MTSU Island. That is logging in. Let me go back over here to Internet Explorer and let's do www.secondlife.com. And what you would want to do is do a join now from secondlife.com.
I want to do that or don't do that?
And to get your avatar, you need to get your avatar first, and then you need to download the viewer. So that's all from secondlife.com. Once you get your avatar, you will want to get permission to MTSU Island, and you'll just need to just email Brenda your avatar name, and of course your faculty name and your avatar name, so that she can get it set up for you to be on MTSU Island. And in the meantime, while you're waiting for, here I am on MTSU Island. Is everybody on I hear somebody knocking. Oh, that's me. I'm clapping. Wow, it's still really, really slow. Are you guys moving slow too?
And Cindy knows to bring the sheet.
You guys moving as slow as I am? There's the Pegasus back here. Hello. She's friendly. She's a little friendlier than I am to these people. I met some very interesting people in Second Life. If you're hanging out on the educational islands, I should preface that. Met educators from Canada and England and this is really slow. I can see somebody waving slowly. So if we want to walk to the amphitheater, I'll show you one of the PowerPoint presentations. Come on, Avatar, you can do it. So what you see in the amphitheater is what's called a presso-matic. And I can do alternate and a little bit more. Alternate left and right and forward and backward. And I'll just show you tell you about the picture that's up here right now. This is, when I presented at the Lilly conference, this was way too much fun. This is one of the other presenters at the Lilly conference, and we're setting for some of our little meeting tables. This was at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And what they were doing there is, if you can see up here on the shared media prem, there's looks like a classroom. There's a tool called Justin TV that you use a webcam and you can project what's going on in the real world into Second Life. So this is my human self sitting right back there in that chair from the webcam. And so something that was kind of fun with that is when we had our reception at the conference, our avatars had a reception, and we had webcams up so that our avatars could watch our humans at the reception. It's kind of a bizarre thought. If you think about it, the avatars can watch what's going on in the real world from within the virtual world, and that's using Justin TV. This is okay. Back to serious stuff here. So, on one of the evenings, I had my students come in. We were talking about risk mitigation strategies and risk responses. So I started out with just giving them an agenda for the evening, and this was on the evening where I let them just explore and so you can see here we're talking about risk response planning, and yeah, the only catch with the freebie Presso-matic is that anybody who touches it will forward it, and there's pros and cons to that. And the reason is it's freebie, so I can't lock it. You can go and pay money for a presenter and lock it and control who can go forward and backward. But one of the benefits of having everybody be able to control it is that they need to come back and look at the material again. They can come back and go forward and backward through the material if they need to review it. So once I went through the PowerPoint presentations, then I let them break out into their group sessions, and I can just right click this and I can take it. And what I gave them to work on after that, Google Doc, right here. And to make the Google Doc work on a shared media prem in Second Life, you just copy the URL, and you come here, double click, paste it. And so here was their document they could work on. I didn't make this one, you guys can't edit this because this was their actual work that they did. So what they do, I don't want to do that right now, is have usually in a group, they'll have one person responsible for copying and pasting the link. And then let me put something up here that we all can edit. I'm just kind of watching the time. How are you guys doing on time? Do we need to wrap it? You're okay?
I'm gonna leave it on my
Okay. So let's just experience a shared media document where we actually have. I placed one. Oops, let's go here. I placed one on D2L so you can get a feel for what a student would go through. So we're a little student group. We have one person designated for tonight to, assuming it's an evening class, to get the Google document. So they go into D2L, and I placed this on the MTSU Second Life users. Do you guys all have access to that? So I just put that in there, went to the content. So I would have it in there. I would have their documents in there by date. Hopefully I can remember the password. And I color code the teams by name. Color code them by name. I name them by different color codes. So I have blue teams and green teams, and I give them an option to come up with their own unique name if they want to. So let's assume we're the blue team. I'm going to click on the blue team link, and I'm going to open it. And this brings it up in a Word document, and it says, oh, we have to put in a password. So only the blue team have their blue team password. So this is their link. Copy and paste it. So they would have one team member responsible for doing that. And then after it displays, everybody has the chance to collaborate on it. Now teams usually come up with their own protocols of how they want to manage their group meeting. This is just really going slow. Probably because it does allow editing. It's going to take a little extra time. They can decide how they want to handle it. Of course, they can all talk to each other. I space them out on the island to where they can talk to each other and not disturb any other group. So they can speak collaboratively. They may have kind of a protocol where everybody does some brainstorming and typing into the document, or they may designate one secretary to do the typing while everybody else talks and collaborates in that manner. Let me try this one more time. So they have a link, copy copy, paste,